Hi, welcome to Tarot Time, and this promises to be a really action-packed week. At least that's what the energy feels like, and that's what the astrology and things that are just going on with the sun, with the earth. So we may be gearing up for a really big week. And I just the last just couple of days or so, I've just had this feeling like something really big is about to happen. And I don't know what. It could be more in the geopolitics, but I think this is more in the geology, weather, space weather, stuff like that. So anyway, welcome to Tarot Time. If you're watching this as a video, we're going to get started in just a minute. What we do here is we do a week forecast. We do an energy update. So we talk about the energy, maybe a little bit about the astrology, what's going on in the world, stuff like that. And then I do a meditation card. We do 3-card spread with the tarot, and I've got other oracle decks and divination tools that we can use so we can get a good, complete, well-rounded forecast for the coming week, maybe the coming week or a couple of weeks, to give you a heads up, an idea of how the energies are moving through the cosmos and through our lives, and how that's likely to affect us and Earth and life here on Earth. So I'm going to put my glasses on, just say a few quick hellos to you guys. So hello, India and Chloe and Lakeside Laura. Welcome, Millie again, and Laura and India again. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Mary. Hi, Felicia. Hi, Beverly. Hey, Katie, Bluebird, Roseanne, Yolanda, Doreen of Children's School of Yoga, CRTV, Chris, welcome. And hi, Chloe again. And if anybody's new and you want to say hi, and we're in this big wide world that you are tuning in from, I will appreciate that, and so will the rest of us. So a part of my Sunday morning, the 11 a.m. here in the Eastern Time, not just do we do tarot and do a heads up, but this is kind of our community hangout, as it were. So a lot of you guys are leaving comments and interacting with each other, and I think that that's great. So I hope you guys continue. Great to see you too, Yolanda. Hello from Troy. I guess that's Troy, New York. So we're kind of neighbors. I'm right by Phoenicia, near Woodstock, New York. All right. So a couple things that are going on that are noteworthy. Now, firstly, a lot of you saw my July psychic forecast, and I have to say, so far so good. We're almost halfway through July. The only thing that's really verified in that forecast is the flooding, and even this morning I just had dreams of floods and more floods, and it's been we've heard about what, Texas, New Mexico. There's been so many floods that you're just not hearing about it around the world. It's just been huge with the water. I mean, we're in a Cancer moon, so that's a water sign. There's a lot of energy on the earth, so there's a lot of things that I predicted geologically, geopolitically, all kinds of stuff. And we're almost halfway through. It's been quiet. I'll be happy if the stuff doesn't verify. Trust me. I always say that some of the gift of prophecy is understanding the energy. Same thing with science, and it's interesting. We can look at the science, make predictions, and not everything verifies. And we can do it psychically or intuitively. Not everything verifies, but the energies are presenting themselves scientifically and intuitively in a certain way for a reason, for us to be aware of these possibilities, basically. And then through collective consciousness and through personal consciousness, we can actually affect changes in the fields, so to speak, the quantum field, the earth fields, and so forth. So I have a few things written down. I do know that we are now in the geo-effective position of the big coronal hole in its 11th pass around the sun. So since October, this coronal hole every 25 to 30 days or so has been circulating back. And whenever there's a coronal hole, there's a plasma stream, and it affects the ionization of the upper atmosphere, which affects the earth. And I was just watching Stefan Burns, the geophysicist, who I adore because he's very spiritual, also talking about this on the live stream he did, I think yesterday, about how all the major earthquakes since the 70s, which, granted is a tiny little sample size, have happened during these coronal holes, in the geoffective positions, basically. The last really big one was the tsunami in March 11th of 2011. So there's that. If I get sometimes I get like these kind of dizzy, lightheaded bouts, which I started to have yesterday, but more so this morning. And I found a pattern that those usually happen when there's solar flares or solar activity. I'm aware that we do have a lot of sunspots rotating in from the sun, and any one of them could produce a major flare. I think there's been some minor flares already. So we could see that anytime. But just feels like something really big between the solar activity, between things that are going on astrologically, which I'm going to get into in a second. Then we're going to get into some cards. It just feels like in the next 48 hours, we should be aware of the possibility of some major geological event that can include an earthquake or tsunami or a larger scale volcano. I understand the Indonesia volcano erupted again. I guess that's something else to verify. We're seeing a massive, though very weak, earthquake swarm under and around Mount Rainier, which is interesting because that was one of the hot spots they came up for possible volcanic activity. That in Mount St. Helens. We're seeing, although it's quieted down, but we're seeing a lot of activity in West Yellowstone. So far, I haven't heard a lot about the new Madrid Fault, which is an area that I'm suspicious of based on prophecies as well as things that I picked up. That's the one that runs along the Mississippi. And of course, the new Cascadia Fault off of Oregon and Washington. And and so lot going on. And as we add more energy into the system, it can excite what's going on in the earth. And if something's in the precipice of going into like a major earthquake, that could catalyze it. So I have a little bit about the astrology also, because we see two planets stationing now. Well, I guess three. Neptune's still kind of in station, but Saturn, it just actually went retrograde this morning. So Saturn's now in its annual 5-month retrograde period. It just started this morning. Mercury's about to go stationary. So the planets also carry a gravitational field and an energetic signature. So when they go stationary, they're basically affecting a certain portion of the earth for a longer period of time than when they're moving. That can add energy to the system also. I think Mercury retrograde starts on the 18th, I believe. So that's just 5 days. So it's coming into station now. And the fact that right now we have the moon in Pisces, that could also, because it's a water sign again, we could see you have some more major flooding. The atmosphere is very volatile right now. It's very moisture laden. So heads up with that. Hopefully not in your area or my area. So what else do we have? And with the moon in Pisces, it could actually do something underwater, like create, help to create underwater volcanoes or stuff like that. But floods have been real. Like I said, the real thing that's really verified big time from the forecasts that I've been doing lately. I think. Also, I have to mention that in these forecasts, I did mention that I'd see the second half of July be more active than the first half. So this week, we may see some activity. The idea is to put lots of prayers out there to open our hearts and send a lot of love to the earth and people that are being effective. And if enough people do that, that helps to shift the energy and mitigate some of the challenges or soften some of the blows. I mean, earthquakes will always happen. Unusual weather events, anomalies will always happen, but we can, kind of soften the blow through consciousness. Because everything's conscious, and with these solar flares, it's like a language. It's almost like a Morse code of the sun. So, the sun goes through short cycles, like 11-year cycles. We're just sort of easing off of the solar max now. So we're still in solar maximum, but we're starting to go past peak, I'll put it that way. And then there's longer cycles. There's grand solar minimums, grand solar maximums, but it's like a symphony. And if we're able to speed everything up and like thousands of times and just look at the patterns of the sun, we'll see that there's discernible pattern that very much mirrors sacred geometry and how energy moves through the cosmos. The sun expresses that. So expresses a lot what's going on in the collective fields, what's going on in the cosmos into our closed system, which is the solar system. And it what's the right word? It transmits a lot of that information of the cosmos through the sun and into our collective fields and into the earth fields, and creates changes that way. And it's releasing a lot of stuff, a lot of stored energy, trapped stress, karma, things that have gone wrong in history, basically. The wars, destructions, all that stuff. So as these higher energies hit the earth, it's got to be released. So sometimes things get worse before they get better. The tower falls, and this is the 16-month in numerology, which is the tower card in the tarot. So it's a falling, and it's an unveiling, and a lot more gets exposed, like in the politics. And corruption runs on both sides, so I don't play favorites that way. So we're not here to talk about divide, but we're here to create unity and understand that there's a ruling class, as it were. We don't necessarily understand the full dynamics of that, but a lot of people call that the cabal, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. And in my estimation, from what I observe, from what I research, what I feel intuitively, that there's really, a governing body that kind of, sort of, I don't rules the both sides of the divide, that sort of oversees it. So anyway, like the Native American meme that was going around a while ago, that what if I told you the right wing and the left wing belong to the same bird, basically. So it's really two sides of the same system, basically, and it actually keeps us in an anger, in a survival mode, because we're distrustful and fearful of the other side. We're angry about what's going on. Well, not us, but people in general. And that really just kind of feeds the lower energies. And there's lower forces, the dark side of the force, the negative energies or entities or whatever, they feed on the lower emotions. So if we can raise our vibrations and frequencies, that helps. And as long as we're being programmed and allowing our emotions to be hijacked by the programming, we perpetuate that programming. So every time we feel a little bit angry or upset with the other side, that spirit's way of telling you, or telling me, because it happens to me also, that it's time to go back into the heart, the field of unity, and feel grateful and compassionate, and allow the brain and the heart to blend. So anyway, what else do I have in my notes? I think that's it. When the moon goes into Aries, that I believe is going to happen Tuesday or Wednesday, we may see some uptick in geopolitical activity or battles, or those getting addressed, and stuff of that nature. So anyhow, so how we doing? Grab a little more tea and let's do a little tarot stuff. So let's do our meditation card for the week. I hope everyone's well. I feel like Spirit's saying, make sure we all, being good to ourselves, taking good care of ourselves. We can't, we influence everything, but we can't control anything, right? So we can't control what's going on out there, but we can, to some degree, control what's going on in here, basically. So that's really the name of the game. Be in the heart, do your heart brain coherence, or work that does the same thing, which basically strengthens and expands the fields of our own heart, our largest electromagnetic generator in the body. And then we send some positive light out into the collective, right? So So what are you guys saying before we go into this? And we'll bring a couple of you in. So Felicia, my son lives in Arkansas. Oh yeah, mining in Arkansas. Right. From Hot Springs. Very good. Hello, Mary. I understand. I'm missing a few things. So I'm lucky. Heartbreak or brain supersedes matrix programming every time through my tinfoil hat arrives. Yeah, I want to literally get a tinfoil hat. I'll freak you guys out and wear it on tarot time. Basically, I'll tell you guys something, a little secret, and a lot of these conspiracy theories are actually like orchestrated to confuse people's to distract us from the true conspiracies, basically. But you remember back in the days of X-Files, I started on this journey in 1978 when I had my first flash of awakening and realized that everything that I thought was real was a lie. Like in a microsecond, I saw through the whole game, and it just freaked me out. I was in tears about it, and then I started going in my spiritual path. But back at that time, and back in the days of X-Files, people that I knew that were conspiracy theorists, that wasn't really so much a term. Yeah, they tended to be more the left wing folks. That's I was living in New York City. I was still a registered Democrat at the time, and now today it's like flipped. It's like the MAGA or the right wing more than the left wing that had the reputation for being the conspiracy theorists. So it's funny how these things flip. Just 20 years ago, the Republicans were the big corrupt bad guys, and now it's like the Democrats. But that's not what I believe. It's just what's out there. It's almost like every 20 years, it kind of flips. Like which side's the bad side, which side's the good side, or whatever. And remember, it's two sides of the same whole, right? Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Colleen. I loved X-Files. Mess with your head. I loved X-Files. One of my favorite shows. Yeah. Definitely. I said, what about all those holes they are finding the lakes in the U.S. and all in all caps? So that means I have to flash it, right? Hi, Godspeed. Finding the lakes around us and all the ocean and Florida surrounded by deep holes. That's interesting. I honestly don't have enough information on that specifically to talk about that. Only I would say that there are a lot of underwater anomalies. There's a lot of space anomalies. We don't know. I mean, we know less about what's going on in the ocean than we do about our immediate galaxy. So there's a lot of unknowns. I feel like through remote viewing and through just intuition and what I've heard, that there are beings that are maybe under the ocean, perhaps extraterrestrial, perhaps there's even civilizations. I don't know this. I predicted a while ago they're going to make some amazing discoveries, like in the desert. That came through. Actually, I'm confusing that. That was more of like a 2025, like December prediction for the year. And then they discovered. I mean, we knew about it all along. The power station under the Pyramid of Giza, for example, and other areas that there's a lot that's being discovered, basically. So what is Mary saying? Saying they do say there are underground cities built for. Oh yeah, I heard that also, that we have passed away. Yeah, I've heard about that as well. And there are deep cracks in the Mississippi River too close to where I live on the New Madrid Fault. So we have to be aware of that. That even though it seems like it's been a little bit quieter lately, I seeing more activity a couple months ago there. That's just the nature of geological activity. It ebbs, it flows, it crests, it wanes, basically. But what's going on under Mount Rainier is very interesting. They're kind of attributing it to fluid flows. There's I think only 2 or 3 of the earthquakes are over 2.0 magnitude. I mean, you probably wouldn't even feel it there. But from a geologist standpoint, it's interesting. With the coronal hole now, right now it's in its maximum geo-effective position. that can catalyze something as it's done in the past. So back to the tarot, to our meditation card for the week. Good morning, Lisa Marie. Yeah, exactly. Well, some of a lot of that was driven by Baba Vanga's prophecy about the Mississippi splitting. I'd say not this week, but I'd say especially around Florida. Of course, Florida is the hurricane capital of the world, basically. But be aware. Can I keep getting this image of like the coastlines changing? Again, big floods. They keep showing me that. We've had big floods, so unfortunately, it seems to be continuing. All right, let me clear my mind a second. All right, so this is what we got for our meditation card. So 3 of Pentacles, so it's about building. So perhaps as you go into your meditation, this may be more about what to do to build things in your life, basically, to connect with that kind of an energy, or to connect with spirit guides that will assist. But the way that I recommend it for the new people that have been coming to tarot time know this already, is like any other meditation. First step is you get very relaxed, very relaxed. Relax your shoulders, chin, and forehead. If you can just take a couple of deep breaths and relax those principal tension points of the body, the whole body tends to relax. You tend to go more blending with the quantum field, or reblending with the quantum field, as the case may be. And and then once you feel really relaxed, just gauge what you feel. That's an excellent way of gauging the energy. So when you're not thinking, then you become more sensitive to energy, frequency, and flow. So become aware of that. And then in your mind, you step into the card. It's like you're opening a door and stepping into the card. And as soon as you do that, be aware of your energy, how it shifts, but try not to think. So you want to just kind of put more of a subtle awareness on that, or subtle intention, rather than going into your personal mind and then blocking, and then coming out of what's the right word? Coming out of presence and going into your personal mind. You don't want to do that. So it's just a general intention when you step in. It's like, what do I feel? What do I see? What do I smell? What do I hear? What do I taste? What do I touch? And this is just the doorway. So what else is going on? It looks like the figure's inside, but maybe outside. Maybe it's an ashram, or it's a place where you can meet with your spirit guides, and just go into that energy and just experience and do that this week. And because the 3 of Pentacles, 3 is about expansion and growth. Pentacles is about the earth and the physical things in life. You may get messages of how to expand and grow financially in your job, your business, and maybe in what you're sharing with the world around you, and stuff of that nature. Basically, build a beautiful life. Yes, Laura, exactly. Yes and no, Kali. No, that's Eastern Seaboard. One day that'll happen. And I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of the news on that and the prophecy. I personally don't see it. But if I'm wrong, then forgive me. And what's Philly saying? The missing camp has been flooded. They actually call it Flood Valley, just to let you guys know. The Mystic Camp has been flooded for 1980. Same thing, yet they were allowed to continue to have children there. And as we're mentioning, that many wealthy families. And yeah, there's enough yellow flags to look deeper into that. I'm the type that I try to approach things with some level of balance and skepticism. Basically, like being a professional medium, I'll tell people before when your lamp shakes or moves, for example, before you assume it's a spirit, make sure your window's closed. So look for the obvious thing before that. But that would be something to look at. That was a known a valley that's known to flood. It's a part of Texas. It kind of in the way the climate's set up, it's very near what they call the dry line. That's more active in the spring to early summer months, where the more humid, like Gulf of whatever you want to call it, Gulf of Mexico. It will always be that to me, but Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it, where that kind of eastern, humid air kind of meets that more deserty, drier air from the west, and it's known to have like storms that'll build up and sit there. It's not that uncommon, and the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry and an upper level system had you know had formed there also. Now, interesting, and it's unconfirmed at this point because all lines of news and information are corrupt. But from what I've heard, that there was some cloud seeding. I don't know if it was silver iodide or using some other means that was happening in the area around the time. I mean, whether there's a relationship to that or not, I don't have enough evidence to say one way or another, honestly. I mean, my gut feeling is, I don't know. It feels like something's a little bit off. I'll just put it that way. But having said that, just natural climatology, natural meteorology could explain that event based on that. And then people will argue, well, they were only predicting 4 to 8 inches of rain, then some areas had 20 inches of rain. And yeah, that's a big gap, but it's happened before, it's happened again. So the way meteorology is, being that that's my training was in meteorology. I graduated with a BA in meteorology, actually. And just because measurements are taken at grid points, like we don't have enough like infrared coverage to know everything that's going on everywhere in the atmosphere. I think that it's going to be changing to that. So it's not so much like weather balloons and taking measurements at grid, but trying to get more of what's going on in the entire system. And when they're able to develop that, then weather forecasts are going to become more accurate, actually. But for right now, you feed information into a computer program like the Euro model, the GFS models, all that, and then you get a forecast. You get a computer forecast, and then there's the oh god, I forgot what it's called, but there's short range models also. God, I can't remember the name of it. There's a couple of them that really will only forecast over the next 12 or 24 hours. But even those can be inaccurate. And it's just, again, it's the way that data is collected and processed and fed into these computer models that they can't be 100% accurate. Long story short, an error like that absolutely is possible. So to me, there's not enough evidence, but there's enough inconsistencies that it should be researched. And why would they modify the weather? Why would they do that? Well, like true conspiracies versus the fictitious ones, there's always going to be a reason, and it's usually money and power. So see what's going on in that area. Like why would they want to do that? I mean, children died, and they were wealthy children of some of these. Thank you, Beverly, for the super sticker in pounds. Thank you so much. And the way the weather patterns are now, that there's more water. There's about a 7% increase over the last 50 years of available water in the atmosphere. A lot of that is through burning of fossil fuels, not just automobiles, but there's a lot of that, and coal. Well, mostly fossil fuels, because when they get burned, basically they turn into one part CO2 and 2 parts H2O. And H2O is actually a stronger greenhouse gas because the temperature cannot be below the dew point. So if the dew point's like 70 degrees, even if it's a still clear night, which is ideal for radiational cooling, that temperature ain't going to go below 70. I mean, it may go to 69 or 68 because a lot of water will collect on surfaces. So water is a big greenhouse gas, basically. And then there's other things that are going on in the atmosphere, basically, that increases that. There's higher electrical potential. We have the increase of low-level microwave through NextRad, through Wi-Fi, through cell, particularly 5G. So what does microwave do? If you still use a microwave oven, well, firstly, stop doing it would be my advice. And secondly, what it does, it excites those water molecules in the food, heats them, and that's what cooks your food. So if we have, microwaves, I mean, it's granted, it's, 0.0001% of what a microwave oven outputs. So it's very, very low level. But if you have that, and the NextRad, that's the advanced Doppler radar systems, you're always in a very low, high radio wave and microwave frequency. And, we've had radio waves for a very long time. So we've had, for a very long time, radiation that affects our electromagnetic fields. So a lot of people thinking that they're not sleeping because they're having ascension symptoms. Well, you might be, but you also might be sensitive to the EMF because these microwaves affect our and the radio waves affect our brain circuitry, how the neurons fire. It can affect the heart rhythms and things like that, basically. So there's why need to put smart meters up? We're going to refuse that. In New York State, I heard that you don't get penalized for refusing smart meters, which is yet another microwave and high frequency radio wave emitter. So anyway, 3 card spread, right? That's what we're up to now. So it's supposed to rain all week. Yeah, so you're stuck in the rain there, Laura. Sorry to hear that. It's basically chance of rain every day this week up here also. So we're really in there. So you refuse your smart meter, good for you. Yeah, so you can do that. Yeah. Okie dokie. So 3 card spread. Like I said, it feels like a very eventful week. We'll see if the cards show that or not. So basically, that would be against New York State law, But they're sneaky; they won't tell you, and they will just put it up, like you said. But you do theoretically, at least by law, you have a choice. I mean, I don't know if, but we're going to refuse ours and see how that goes. Maybe in New York City, it's different, possibly. I mean, if you're in an apartment building, I guess it's really whoever owns the apartment building that makes that choice, not the residents. So getting back to what Mary's saying, I think in that case you're correct. Okay, so welcome, Enzo, and this is basically a forecast for all of us. So this isn't really individual readings that we're doing here. We do those. The next one's going to be around August the 1st. It's more mediumship work, but the next one of that we're going to do around August 1st. All right. So anyway, I'm pulling 3 cards. 2, 3. Yeah, where's my clipboard? Here it is. So firstly, we've got the Fool card reversed, the Queen of Swords, and then the Hermit card both reversed. So I see these 2 cards. The Fool card could actually be a card of wisdom, by the way. The one that appropriately takes risks, that follows their own path and follow their own heart. So there's a fine line of difference between the wise fool and the foolish fool. So there's a appropriate risk versus non-appropriate risk, right? And then the Hermit card, which is a wisdom card, both reversed. So we've got to stay in our wisdom. We've got to stay in our power. And when I see the Queen of Swords, I'm seeing a lot of wind and a lot of rain and lightning and stuff like that. So again, there may be some things that are going on. I feel like there's some news that's coming out that's very upsetting to a lot of people, but it's not upsetting in the conventional way. It's more like upsetting, like we've been lied to, kind of upsetting. And so I think this is a good energy for like truths to be revealed. It feels like in our collective, everybody that's here right now, take really good care of your health right now, and because it just feels like a lot of that kind of energy that's getting us off balance, that's affecting our body, is there. So how do we do that? Just try to stay in a calm, relaxed vibe. If you do get upset or angry or whatever, work on solving that more quickly than what your overall pattern is. It's funny because Spirit showed me a thermometer going up and then going down, basically. Perhaps they're saying there's going to be a lot with the heat also, and a lot with that as well. But I think this, to me, it feels like people going down. I think I mean, this could affect U.S. politics. What's her name, Bondi, with the Epstein files and all of that. It's like, I've got it's right on my desk, and then flash forward 2 or 3 months later, oh, there is no Epstein files. It's like, so what the heck was on your desk, right? A few months ago, and that's just one example. This isn't trending into any anti-Trumpism, just to be clear about that, because it's very abundantly clear to me that campaign promises are never really kept. Maybe a few of them are, not just in this, but in all administrations since I've been alive, which is 67 years now. But I think that something with the some major company, just some news, and sometimes I get these things. They go very quickly. But there may be some news. It could be financial or something that can really affect the stock market. Basically, remember, tariffs are used primarily for leverage more than anything. Like when the big 145% tariff was threatening to be launched against China. I said right here on Tarot Time and on another forecast that I've seen 40, not 145 or whatever, wound up being 30% actually, but then a 10% going the other way. So that's where the 40 came in. Again, you follow your wisdom. What was this trying to say? To me, this also looks like a lot of sky anomalies, a lot of light anomalies. Could be like some major solar flare or solar activity happening. Also feels like there may be something going on that affects like the poles, like where there's ice caps and glaciers. So there may be like a glacier issue. Sometimes when a large enough glacier collapses, it produces a tsunami wave also. And that reminds me that amongst everything else that's going on, we had 2 nova impacts during the month of June. Suspected at least one of them being a supernova impact, but they have to get the data and see how far away that was to gauge how much gamma radiation is affecting the Earth. But they were both centered around Antarctica, and this is something else that I saw on Stefan Burns' channel, that that right now in the Antarctic, there's huge temperature anomalies like crazy. There's parts of Antarctica that are trending 40 to 50 degrees warmer than average Fahrenheit. And then others that are trending almost as much colder than average. And we're right in the heart of Antarctic winter right now. So depending on where on that continent you are, like the average high, I mean, there's really no sun, so there really isn't too much of a diurnal change in temperature anyway. It's really trending around negative 40-ish or so, sometimes colder, sometimes warmer. So that means in some areas it's actually above zero. And if you go into more of the northern parts near the water, there may be temperatures like in the 20s or 30s in Antarctic winter, which is crazy. So the theory is that when these nova streams hit the Earth, that they affect the climate. That this this energy affects the climate, and it can affect the geology, it can affect the space weather, it can affect a lot of things. So we just had those, so we'll see how that plays out. But the effects will first be felt right around the southern poles, and then it'll start to, the effects will start to gradually, move through the entire planet, basically. I mean, this could also represent a female leader being in the news a lot or proposing something. Honestly, I'm not sure which one, but that could come up. And what else am I seeing in here? It looks like a lot of waves and a lot of changes. I understand Kilauea is still going nuts. The Philippines just popped up. There may be another major eruption around the Philippines or an earthquake in that area also. Again, like I said, it just feels like something major is about to happen. And a lot that's what's going on with the solar flares, the coronal hole, and consciousness plays a role also. It just seems like over the next couple of days, no guarantees, but something could major happen around that time, basically. Wish you could turn off the crown. I don't know what the freaking crown's about. All right. So Colin's saying you were dreaming about shooting balls of light, and the last one was for me. Oh yeah, this could represent like extraterrestrials and UFOs. I'm gonna do a video this week about that, because I do feel that that we're going to get more information, either telepathically or more known like sightings or stuff like that. So I think the next few weeks, it's particularly August, and I did a video just yesterday. I released it on the channel about some of the amazing energy that's coming in for August. Very high vibrational energy is coming in that could really have a really good positive effect on our world, although a lot of change and challenges also noted. So let's do a few other things here. Yeah, I think the way the crowns work is the more that you comment on the live stream, the more likely you are to get a crown, basically. I think that's how it works. And in any event. So another very interesting and noteworthy thing that's going on now is that the 4 outer planets are all in a harmonic aspects with Saturn and Neptune conjunct, and that conjunction actually is sextiling Pluto in Aquarius and sextiling Uranus now in Gemini. So the planet Uranus is very interesting, because sometimes you can look at Uranus aspects and get a chance or get a feeling if there's a greater chance of like magnetic or geological activity, or as well as wars or things of that nature. So it's been in the Earth sign Taurus for what is the last 7 years or so. And it gets a little bit bogged down in the Earth sign, because Uranus is more of an air planet. It rules the sign Aquarius, and it octaves above Mercury energetically, so it's on the same vibration, just at a higher frequency than the planet Mercury. So when it goes into Gemini, the Mercury ruled Gemini, it gains a lot of energy. So it's been and Uranus is a planet of sudden change, sudden release, surprises, the Great Awakener, evolution, things of that nature. So it's been, once it's coming out of Taurus and it's able to be stronger in Gemini, basically, the effects that it had on the Earth are going to start to come out more, basically. So as it's leaving Taurus, there's likely to be an increase in geological activity. So a lot of things are pointing to that. And then when it goes retrograde next, I don't have the dates or even the months, but Uranus is going to revisit Taurus briefly, and then it's going to go forward again into Gemini and stay there for the next 6 or 7 years after that. That's going to really tap into like technology, inventions, changes in society, changes in the thinking of the masses, awakening, but a lot with new inventions and a lot of changes like medical and stuff like that. So it's an exciting period that's coming up, though it's daunting and challenging at the same time. So what I've been mixing up as I've been talking of the Native American tarot. So I'm going to pull a card from here. Thank you. Yeah. Please share, and we'll get this information out to more people. And what we got here is, and this has come up, in the last couple months. We've gotten this 2 other times. The Ace of Wands. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that out. Ace of Pipes, Ace of Wands. Pipes is peace, right? I have the pipe right here. So this is the Ace of Wands here, right? This is for peace. So this could actually show that we may get a little bit of news of diplomacy, maybe again working towards a ceasefire. In Russia, Ukraine, I think there's an active ceasefire, Israel and Iran, though I don't follow the news that closely, so I could be wrong. I predicted in the month of July, actually, that a ceasefire and a possible end of the war would be realized in July. I mean, timelines are so variable and fluid. I won't make myself wrong if that doesn't happen in July. And in fact, September really feels like even a more conducive month because it comes into our universal 19 month, which is a new beginning. But in any event, I think we may see some news with that. So this is really about peace. It's about invoking peace. If anything's, a little bit muddy with other people in your life, this is a good time to solve it. Mercury being stationed, it's actually a good time to revisit the past and heal things from the past. There's actually positive benefits while your computers are blowing up and you're missing your plane. Yes, there's some positive aspects of Mercury retrograde also, and you can revisit and solve things that have been lingering in the past. So this is a good time to make amends. Forgive but don't forget is my motto. A lot of people have problems with that. I mean, probably the worst thing that happened to me is that I was accused of stealing and was fired from a job that I loved. And I forgave that person for that, basically, but I'll never forget. But the idea with that is you forgive for yourself, not for the other person. Because if you're not forgiving, then you're holding that person's energy closer to you, basically. And that's just basic energetics. So a lot of people have been screwed over a lot worse than me. So, easier said than done. I get it. No getting preachy or getting on my high horse about it. Just some spiritual advice for you guys. And then by being able to do that, then you're no longer carrying that person's energy with you. So anyway, I think that's part of the message of that. You're right. Thank you. Forgiving is a way of letting go. Exactly. That you remember that guy that was hanging out on the cross. The one, right? The Bible. He had nails in his palms. He was hanging from a cross. And what did he say? He said, well, at least according to the Bible, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So anyway. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me, right? I want to do the frequency of the week. Yeah, but that's. I mean, I know it affects you, but it's still their it's still their energy at the end of the day. And that you raise a good point because and maybe other people are thinking the same things. Well, what if I'm supposed to forgive somebody, but they did something that affects the rest of my life negatively, that's impacting the rest of my life negatively. I understand it's hard to do that, but again, it's a release. It's letting them out of your energetic field, and by doing that, you not everybody, but some people might be surprised that the impact of that event may lessen over time if you're able to release them from your energy fields. So anyway, frequency of the week. I'm seeing New York City. Maybe keep an eye on things going on in the Big Apple this week. That could connect to like terrorist stuff or natural events or whatever. Gaia, we've gotten Gaia once or twice before. The frequency of Gaia reminds us that we are in infinitely connected to one another, just as we are to our great mother and to the universe that birthed us all. And exactly, yeah. It's like we are of the earth. And I one day years ago, I was meditating on my creek, well, not my creek, but I happened to be blessed to live right by a nice creek, a nice private creek. And my guides were coming through and saying, well, while you were meditating, you just shed, 1,000 skin cells. I'm like, all right. And then they say, and you know what? Those skin cells go into the earth. They go into the water. I'm like, that's great. And then they go into the plants, and the plants consume them, and then the plants grow, and then you eat those plants, and then the cycle continues basically. So we will always go back into the earth, right? And the earth eventually, in millions of years, will go back into the cosmos where we all came. And they're finding some very interesting things through the Webb telescope about origins of the universe that's going to change the whole models of how the universe was formed, and understand that it's really part of a collective universe. So our universe might be the atom in a body of a giant. In other words, the microcosm, the macrocosm are the same, basically. So anyway. What are you saying, Mary? I think everybody might comment. Good for you. I've already, yeah. You have that. That's really good. That takes a lot. That takes a lot to forgive that. Really, that shows that you're in an elevated place, an ascended place. Absolutely. Oh yeah, Quest Bookshop. Yeah, I used to do readings out of there. But I like Quest too. Yeah. And hi Kathleen, she's saying love the message regarding forget it really does release so much of our burdens. Absolutely, yeah. Gaia, yes. Oh, Gaia, yes. There we go. All right, so let's do our totem animal for the week. I've been more and more loving these medicine cards. More and more. All right. Yeah, so Quest Bookshops of the New York Theosophical Society. And yeah, they do have a lot of great. Oh, I love owls. A lot of great. I had a dream about an owl. It was, last night I was very active in the dream, and it just reminded me. I had a dream about owl. And there's another bird. There's an owl, and I forgot what the other bird was sitting on a tree, basically. So owls, that's owls is amongst other things can be about mediumship and connecting what was I going to say yeah, I forgot what the other bird is, but yeah, owls can be about mediumship, connecting to the other side, the spirit world, stuff like that. But I want to see what the authors of the medicine cards are saying about owl medicine. That's interesting. Deception. I wouldn't have thought of that. Owl medicine is symbolically associated with clairvoyance, astral projection, and magic, both black and white. Owl is called night eagle. Yeah, that I knew. On several medicine wheels used by different traditions. Owl sits in the east, place of illumination. Humanity's been afraid of the night, the dark, the unseen, waiting fearfully for the first crack of morning light. Conversely, night is the owl's friend, so the owls pray at night. So basically, deception can be a form of darkness also, right? So I think part of the message is that in our own personal lives, as well as in the world at large, this is a good week for uncovering deception. Mercury stationing going direct, so the astrology favors that also. And a lot of the outer planets are retrograde now too. I think Pluto is, Neptune, Saturn. Uranus is direct, though, I believe, still. But in any event, a lot of, and Mercury, which is an inner planet, is about to go direct also. So the owls see into the dark. The owls see into the unknown. And I think this is just spiritual way of saying trust in that. Trust what you get, especially if you just feel it in your heart, you can see it in your mind, you know it, even if there's no tangible evidence for it. I think it's just saying to trust it, basically. Hello, Cassie from San Antonio. Welcome. Owls, Hawks, Falcon. Yeah, even in New York City, you'll see them. Yeah. Yeah, so you do see them. One time I saw, years ago, probably about 25 years ago, I saw a blue heron sitting in a little puddle in a landfill on 34th Street, basically. And I was like, that was so cool. See a blue heron in Manhattan. So anyway, moving right along, let us do I would say Sekhmet. Well, we're coming to Lionsgate portal soon. The season of Sekhmet is coming. So this is the Egyptian, the Isis oracle. I'm sorry. I see many in Battery Park too. Cool, yeah. Yeah, so some forms of autism are really genius. And owls are a symbol of wisdom, also associated with teachers. Thank you for that ad. Yeah, and they also they are also they're birds of prey, great strength, exceptional eyesight, and 360-degree rotator. Thank you for all of that insight, guys. Appreciate you. So here we go. Right at the top, they pull the top card. The brother in darkness. I'm sensing a theme here. Let's not be afraid of the dark, because sooner or later the dark's going to come in a flash of light and it's going to express itself in some way. If it's dark, it's just unmanifest, and things that are manifest become unmanifest. Things that are unmanifest become manifest, and there's the yin yang, the polarity of the universe, of the physical universe, and how the cycles, the waves of energy form based on these. That's how an ocean wave is formed also. Like a tsunami wave, there's an underwater lift. It lifts the water. Gravity tries to suppress the water back. It creates an imbalance. It creates a circular motion. That circular motion propagates outward, basically. So wave is really a circle. It's like circles within circles, and then the troughs are what's in between the circles. So light, sound, all waves move that way, and it's really somehow connected to this card. Anyway, overcoming negative energy with feminine power. Interestingly, okay, so divine feminine energy, they're saying, can help to overcome that. And the divine feminine goes more into the intuition, more into the receptive nature, more into the inner wisdom, basically. Understanding the cycles and understanding dark is a necessary part of light, and vice versa, basically. So, brother in darkness. Very nice. So let's move on to the next one. And I have this one. This is Kyle Gray's Divine Masters Oracles. That's what Divine Master is working with us this week, this period. And we got Rama and Sita, and this is holy union, right? One's dark, one's light, right? Yin and yang, holy union, soulmate connection, romantic opportunity. Well, that's interesting. So some of us may be going into that energy, and a lot of times soulmates will connect on Mercury retrograde, because again, it's about the memory, it's about the past. Of course, time is circular in nature; it's not linear, but it can bring back connections from other lifetimes. Also, bring back the balance and understanding, the nature of divine union, and we can open our heart and have a divine union with God's spirit or source. Also, basically, through connecting through the portal of the heart, which really is the central point of our energetic bodies and systems, and our chakra systems as well. There's a lot of blue. Yeah, very good. So that's what I get for that. And I'm going to finish up now with just a quick angel message. So just look at your comments. All right, so here we go. This is the one. And Crystal, have faith and hope because there's something positive new on the horizon that you can't see yet. And the angel is Crystal. This is a older Doreen Virtue deck before she had her life change, or whatever you want to call it. And just to me, it just, when I'm seeing the halo over the head, but it's not touching the angel. Just sometimes we don't see that we're protected because we're going through a lot of the challenges of physical life, and it seems like we're not really being looked after, but we are. We'll get through it. This too will pass. And I think the final message is just really, keep staying in your heart, keep vibrating love, joy, compassion, gratitude, no matter how bad things get. And we will, from time to time here, do some group prayers and send a lot of light into the collective. There's one that we did on 7/7 that you can go back if you want to connect with our collective there, to send a lot of healing and light and love to help nature, to help ease the wars and suffering of humanity. That's on the channel also. And this too shall pass. Exactly. Yeah, keep asking Jesus to help, or Yeshua, Mary. Absolutely. Faith and hope. All right. Again, thanks everybody. If you came in late, we will go back to the replay. And if you're interested in doing some high-end spiritual work to break free of this physical traps that we're in, some people call it the matrix. We're doing Spearfest 2025 is going to be learning how to break the matrix, and how to escape the matrix. And by doing that, you reconnect with your own power, spirit, God, or source. And then you start to live life on your own terms and start to empower that way. So we all have to break through that programming in order to reach our next level. This is the retreat that's going to teach you how to do that. And there's going to be courses, but there's also going to be frequency channeling work through the master teachers are going to do. So there'll be information on the pinned comment. It's in the Catskill Mountains. It's going to be amazing. And I hope you guys can come, or some of you that are called to it can come. So love you guys. See you next time. Be well. Peace.